Greenwood from the North Melbourne Footy Club, and you're listening to another episode of the Hashtag Kangaroos podcast.
Welcome to another episode. My name is Dean Vasic. You can find me on X at Hashtag Kangas, Instagram, Hashtag Kangaroos Podcast. Also on YouTube now, just type in my name, Dean Vasic, and you can watch the shows there now as well. All right, tonight I'll welcome to the show Clare and Jacinta. Girls, welcome to the show. And we are here to chat about the women's game yesterday, but we will go through a bit of the men's team and the program there. Now, there's obviously been a lot of talk in the last few days about trades and possible trades that might be coming up. So we'll start there. Now, Claire, we got Jack Darley confirming he is coming to North today for pick 67 today. Luke Parker has confirmed he wants a trade to North. Happy to have both those boys in North colours next year to add a bit of experience to this young group?
Absolutely, Dean. I put on Twitter maybe a couple of hours ago about Darling. I think he offers a lot of different options for our new forward line and how that sets up. I also think that particularly Darling offers the idea of a couple more years of figuring out what we want or what we want to do with Charlie Comden. And I think he's the big key tool, whether we want him down back or whether we want him down forward. I think Jack Darling buys us decoy and he buys us time, which I think is huge. Another thing that really excites me is the prospect of obviously Luke Parker, and he's requested the trade, which is fantastic. I think he will be wonderful, I think, for two reasons. One, particularly with his on-ball midfield skills and what he can kind of teach young George Wardlaw in particular, I think, and also high half forward Zane Dersma. And I think he will look to play not only just a role in terms of executing a really solid midfield performance, but what he can do to sort of, I guess, develop those young lads and protect their bodies around the ball. Where do they stand? What do they do? What are you doing when the ball's not in your hands, or how are you preparing defensively? And I think Luke Parker, he brings a lot of contest to that forward line. If he's not clunking marks, he's definitely on the ground, dragging the ball under and giving crumbing options, which I think is exciting for the prospects of people like Paul Curtis, Eddie Ford, Hanson Jr. as well, if he grabs another game. So it is exciting. I'm not sure about Caleb Daniel yet. I think a few has to get. I'm not sure what I'd be prepared to give up to get him, considering that I think we've still got. I know McKercher is technically a mid, but I think Archer and him across the half back line, and someone like Miller Bergman, Goda, is more exciting. So I guess I don't want to sell the farm for Caleb Daniel, but he is 28 years old, and that he offers a lot of options, and I think he probably uses the ball just a little bit more better than Zach Fisher.
Yeah.
Lots to. I guess the thing is, Dean, for us, it's the first time in a long time us North fans have sat back and instead of sort of just taking leftovers, we've got, albeit a little bit older, we've got actual players selecting our club, and it just has a different feel to it. I don't know about you guys, but it's nice to have, premiership players, previous premiership players come and say that they want to play their football at North Melbourne. So, yeah, quite exciting times from my perspective.
Fair enough for Claire. Jacinta, mixed opinions on Jack Darling, but I think Luke Parker is still a capable AFL player. Squeezed out of the midfield this year, but showed he's still capable in that spot. You're happy to get a guy like him that can be a real culture guy and bring valuable leadership to a young list?
Yeah, I'm wrapped with Luke Parker. When we were rumored to be interested in him at the start of the year, I was just hanging on to that hope. He's just perfect. Like Claire said, he's still got a lot of football left in him. I really do think he's got another couple of years, and if we use him right, especially now the sub rule in there as well, I think we can sub him in and out of games as well. So, no, he's perfect because we can chuck him in the middle when we're like. I just think about that game against West Coast where they stole it in the last couple of minutes. If we had someone like Luke Parker to put in the middle and just settle the troops down a little bit and tell Sheasel, hey, don't knock that ball out of the space, keep it in, I think it would have made a world of difference for us. I think Jack Darling, I'm not completely sold. I mean, I get it structure-wise. We do need that second tall in there. I'm just not completely sold on what outside of leadership and training standards, I'm not sure has that much to offer, but I would be happy to be proven wrong on that one. And Caleb Daniel, I love, but same thing. I don't want to sell the farm for him because we do tend to do that, and the dogs tend to hold a tough line with all their trades. So I don't want to give up too much for him, but I do think we are lacking ball users, and I think we've been lacking them since the day I was born, to be honest. Boomer was the last one that I could really trust with the ball. So now we've got Sheasel and McKercher and these players coming through that I think we can fully trust. So it'd just be nice to add another one with a calmer head, and I think putting him off halfback maybe opens up some options for someone like Zach Fisher that we can buy up forward maybe. And
you didn't trust Ben Cunnington?
Oh, no, I did trust Cunners. No, there's been a few. Cunners, I trusted Cunners. Okay, I'll pay that. Even I trusted Daniel Wells. There was a few. I did trust a few. But we never had enough where it was like they could string a chain of passes together where I thought, okay, yeah, we're still safe. Oh, no. There was always an oh, no at some point.
So, you leave Sean Atley alone, okay?
Oh, no, them all, wasn't he? But now, if we could get like a Caleb Daniel kicking to McKercher, kicks it to Sheasel, who hits Larky on the chest, it would just be a dream come true. So I would be rapt to get Caleb Daniel. But, yeah, I don't want to give up too much for him because he is still contracted, so they might.
Yeah, he's got, I think, 2 years left on his deal, so and probably on big money as well. He signed a 5-year deal a couple of years ago, obviously, but he was that's when he was at his peak, and he was a very good player, close to all Australian there for a couple of years as well, playing off the halfback flank. Claire, another player we're linked with is Dan Houston, not just Caleb Daniel. I'd be very surprised if Dan Houston came, but you never know, I guess. Rawlings did say our future first is on the table for him today, and we probably have the best offer for him at this stage. Would you be happy to give up a high pick next year for a dual All-Australian who's 27, probably right at the peak of his career?
Yeah, I probably would, Dean. I think the reason for that is getting the experience around the youth. And I think I had this conversation with a gentleman actually at the Roo shop on the weekend. I think keeping the kids, keeping the core of Sheasel, Wardlaw, McKercher, all these together is really important. And don't get me wrong, like they've seen a little bit of success, slices of sort of success, but it's all well and good for Clarko to stand up at, the whiteboard every meeting and say, we're building. But ultimately it comes to a point in time where you need to get reward for effort. And you can't just say, okay, well, we won a half a footy today or we won this today. And I think what Houston would provide is probably the difference between, we've won 3 games a season. I reckon Houston, Parker, Darling, we probably climb up to more of like potentially 6 to 7 wins a season. And that's where those things click. And that's where if you can sort of keep that core group together, that they see the end goal and they see putting it all together with those jigsaw pieces of Houston and Parker. And I know people are dubious about Darling, but I'm staying pretty optimistic. But I think he could provide a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, not just because he's a very talented footballer, but because I think he'd help kind of take that team, because he started in Port Adelaide quite a bit when they weren't doing so well. So it's also providing context and saying, look, it's all part of a process, guys, and we're going to go from a team that goes from 3 wins a season to maybe 6 to maybe 7. So I think he offers a lot, and I'd be prepared to give up that pick, especially, I guess, because, what's pick 2 these days? What's pick 3? I'm just so confused, Dean, about with academies, father, sons, and things like that, and the value of things like that. I'd rather have a ready-made prime peak player than have to put time and energy into, another midfielder at pick 2. So, yeah, I'm willing to sell the farm for Houston. I think he's got a lot to offer. But that being said, last time we dealt with Port Adelaide was Jason Horne-Francis. And then before that, people might forget, or they probably don't forget, Jared Pollock and Jasper Pittard. So we don't have a great history with dealing with them, do we?
I don't trust them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
in Passport, I think Houston's going to come and he's going to have a broken leg or something.
More than likely, a career-ending injury the first day he walks into the door. But before that, Claire, we did Anthony Stevens' brother for Michael Stevens for Stuart Cochran. So that's going back a long time.
Wow.
Stuart Cochran's kid's a really good player. So
okay.
but he's a young junior coming through. Anyways, well, that's another topic.
Fair enough.
Now, you mentioned Jacinta Caleb Daniel, and you're really excited at the prospect of having him. Where does this leave Zach Fisher? Do you think he goes maybe as a small forward? We never tried him that last year in his first season, which is kind of surprising. I thought he was quite reasonable. He copped a lot of criticism throughout the course of the year. I actually thought he was okay. Caleb Daniel is a better ball user, but Zach Fisher does have a bit more pace than Caleb Daniel. Where do you think this would leave a Zach Fisher or even a Colby McKercher, another undersized rebounding defender, I guess?
Yeah, they're all three of them together are probably not great defensively. They're also pretty small height-wise. So, yeah, they definitely can't all play back at the same time. So, yeah, I think Zach Fisher could go up forward. Then I think he might stress people out a little bit less with his ball use. There's less damage done up there. But no, I think he'd be useful up forward when we're dying for anyone to kick goals up there. So he'd be perfect. I think McKercher, you can see that he's dying to get on the wing. So I would love to see him run out there and then just leave the halfback to Caleb Daniel. Or, I mean, as you say, if we go to Houston, I know it's a slim chance, but him and Caleb Daniel off the halfback, we'd be flying through the middle. Anyway, I guess trade period's one of those things, where you can get your hopes up really high and then it can all come crashing down pretty quick. Either we make the wrong choices or we don't get anyone at all. So, it is hard to, I guess, predict what's going to happen when we haven't actually locked anyone in yet, have we? Officially, we haven't locked anyone in. So, I know there was even rumours that maybe Brisbane were going to try and poach Jack Darling, and I wasn't completely against it, but I just thought, you know what, if he's got any ounce of loyalty, he's coming to North. Surely you're not going to go around to Clarko and say, actually, I'm going to go chase a flag. But no, I think Zach Fisher's really versatile, so they'd find somewhere for him. I'm with you, Dean. I think he was actually okay last year. So, he's in the round one team next year. So, he can go anywhere, really, can't he? He can go forward, mid, back. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he'd be good for him too.
No, look, I'm certainly not going to write him off and, he's out of the team now. They did invest a lot in him, giving him a 5-year deal, and he does have that versatility. He played his first 110, 15 games at Carlton, playing as a small forward, and was okay at that role. So, and we, like you said, we are desperate for a small forward, and he does bring a bit of experience there. Claire, we're also rumoured in trading away a future first for possibly Dan Houston, which is still a bit of a long shot. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's there. Or for a Gold Coast first pick this year at number 6. Would you be happy with that? Because even Brady Rawlings said today, look, we're going into another draft. This will be the 5th year of going into a draft. We can't just keep going to the draft, basically. And sort of said, let's just stack up on this year and forget about next year about development. We've got to start making inroads. Would you be happy just giving up that first for next year and just sacrificing that, even though that could be a top 2 or 3 pick?
Yes, because I was very confident. Yes, wasn't it? No, I thought about that in a circular way. I'm hoping the future first would be a bit higher, right? Say, climbing out of obviously that bottom 4 is going to be quite difficult. I'd say if we get 2 games against West Coast and 2 games against Richmond though next year, that sits us 4, and then it's about sort of stealing games against Suns, St Kilda, maybe in Adelaide if we can. So,
Bombers.
yeah. Oh God, I'd love to see. Here's the thing: I actually would rather just win 1 game against the Bombers all year and then lose the rest. That's how much we all hate them, to be fair. So, and we've got the Bombers soon, actually, in the women's program. But anyway, it's the
next
first
week.
time we'll play. Yeah, exactly. It's the first time we'll play them, actually, which is exciting. But yeah, I've got to say, I think patience can wear thin, and not just in the supporter base. I get that, I'm always optimistic and I'm always on Twitter and using my social media to sort of spruik this idea that we've got to be patient with the group and we've got to see long-term success and all come together. But yeah, if the opportunity, you don't want to lay anything, you don't want to hold anything back. And so I think what's great about Brady Rawlings saying, well, we're prepared to do this, we're prepared to do that, is saying, we are putting the best interest of trying to secure this player. I'm going to put everything forth to try and get him. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At least you've laid it all on the line. At least you've given 100% to it, and you can, die without, I guess, holding anything back. So, yeah, I'm prepared to do it. I think he's an All-Australian. He's got a lot of run and carry. He can offer a lot to the club, and it sort of then also offers this whole other idea that wheels kind of start turning. And if they can get 3, albeit Darling probably past his prime, 3 big name players to the club, it kind of culturally changes things as well. Like, North can't be laughed at as just this club that no one wants to go to. It sort of comes with this idea that, maybe they are building something special and maybe there is something to get on board with as well. So I'm prepared to do it, Dean. But also I'm really glad that I'm not Brady Rawlings in this situation.
Well, he's under a bit of pressure, Claire, so he's got to start nailing this because he's made a few mistakes in the past, and we won't get to that now. We're in the present. Jacinta, there's also talk that we may trade down from pick 2 this year. Now, he said, we'll go down 3 or 4 spots. I found that curious in his interviews. He may be looking at Gold Coast, 6 and 13 for pick 2, or St Kilda, pick 7 and 8 for pick 2. It would work out pretty well if we could manoeuvre that deal. I mean, because it is pretty much a midfield dominant first 4 or 5 picks, and then you sort of start getting a few key position players. It'd be pretty hard to get that move going, but would you be happy with something like that, trading down to split the picks?
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of it, but then I get that they say, the first 3 or 4 are probably mids, but I just don't see why we can't, pick the best forward or the best defender at 2. I've never really got that logic. Okay, yeah, they're probably ranked 6 or 7, but if we need them and we can, we rate them highly enough to pick them in the top 5 anyway, why can't we just have them at 2? Yeah. That one, those ones have never really made that much sense to me, but I get if we get the extra pick, so if we get 7 and 8, yeah, sure, we do it. But if we're just going, from 2 to 6 and 25, I think someone was saying, then it's just a waste of time because we can just pick whoever we want it to. The world really is our oyster at pick 2, and we know that because we have had pick 2 and pick 1 a few years in a row now, so we do get that. But I'm for it as long as they don't pay up too much for it. As long as it's purely just pick 2 and then we get a couple first rounders back. I don't want to give up a pick 2 and then pick in the 20s and the 30s as well. That's really going to do my head in because I think I trust Brady Rawlings with the drafting side of it, but I don't really trust him with the trade side of it. So I think when it comes to picking players, they've done a pretty good job the past couple of years. It's just when they come to deal making, he tends to get the wool shoved over his eyes a bit. So, yeah, I just hope that we're just not giving up too much just for a couple when really we could take whoever we wanted to anyway.
And that's the thing, if you're going down to the 20s and it's a bit of a lottery, at least you're probably more chance to get a sure thing at pick 2 rather than pick 5 or 6. And I agree with you. I suppose it comes back to last year. Sometimes, you want to pick the best available and just make it fit with your early picks. But sometimes you got to, all right, we need a key forward. We're desperate for a key forward. We're desperate for a small, defender. Yeah, and we sort of went against that last year. So, we got another half forward, Zane Dersma. There's a lot of talk about that, especially with Nick Watson coming straight after him. But we won't discuss that any more than it has in the media over probably the last month. And, getting another midfielder in Colin McKercher, which we put as a defender, which seems to be our go-to, I suppose. If it doesn't work for a player, we just put him on a half-back flank. So that seems to be the way it goes. But we'll see how we go over the next week or so, however long this trade period lasts. Now, Claire, let's go to the women's game and a little bit more positivity. And the first half, we didn't have it all our way, but we played better when it rained, and it looked more almost cleaner. Almost a state win that we can play in the wet, despite what the media says.
Yeah, Dean woke up that day thinking, this is it. We finally got some ideal footy conditions. And then I was bombarded with messages and notifications that, in fact, there was scheduled rain for 2 p.m, which was great. And rain it did, torrential, sideways rain from about half-time-ish onwards, which was really fun. But really pleasing to see. I guess throughout the week, I had some question marks regarding how North would be led and how they'd fill the massive hole that is Emma Carney. And, of course, with the Richmond game, she did down quite early. But what was the plan? What was the setup? What was going to happen? Where was the leadership going to be driven from? I think Jasmine Garner oozes class, did a really great job in terms of, especially in the second half. She got some clutch goals, which was fantastic to watch. And it was really pleasing, I think, from my perspective, to watch the defence. I spent a fair chunk of the day seeing how they all set up and how they sort of rotated through. And I think it was definitely Sarah Wright's perhaps best game for the club. I thought she did a really, really great job down there. She played more of a half-backer sort of, role and pushed up more, rolled up forward, which was really interesting to watch. So that was really fantastic. But, yeah, it's funny. They actually were able to score more in the wet than they were in the dry. So I think they kicked 24 points at halftime. Admittedly, they missed some absolute sitters in the first quarter, which was driving me nuts. But they were able to, I think, kick 59 points all up. So they were able to kick more in the wet than they were in the dry. So let's just hope that the AFLW Grand Final is played in torrential rain, Dean. That seems like it seems like who we are now. We're just wet weather specialists, which is great.
It seems to be, the common theme. Because I remember when I showed up to the ground on Saturday, I was thinking, these are the best conditions we've had all year. And that came back to bite me at half-time. Jacinta, I spoke to a couple of players last week, and they said that they found it humorous that they think we can't play in the wet. They talk about it in the group, so I think they want to prove something, because that second half we looked far too good for the Bulldogs, who have improved from round one. They weren't great, but they have improved a lot, and they've come off 2 wins in a row as well.
Yeah, no, they've definitely proved now that they can play in the wet, and they should take all the confidence in the world from that, because, I mean, we both dry footy suits our skill set, so that's fine. We've now also the wet, so there is no, actually, and they even had that humidity in Brisbane in round one, so honestly, whatever Grand Final Day throws at us, ideally it's Grand Final Day, it doesn't matter. We're going to rock up. We're going to play well. So that they have also worked out a little bit that ball footy does not really translate well in the wet, and I think they structured up a lot better to suit the wet weather footy. So even like holding the defence in like the perfect like little slot, so wherever the Bulldogs kicked, it went straight to them. So I think they've worked it out. I think against Geelong especially, they were probably holding back a bit too deep, and now they've kind of worked out, that ball's not going to go very far in this weather, so we'll push up a bit, and they just look a lot better. I think if we played Geelong now with our new wet weather skill set, so no, I feel really confident. I feel really relieved that bogey that, I mean, even I was questioning a little bit, that is off the back now. So now nothing's stopping us. I mean, I've said before, I'm really trying to keep the lid on, but it's really hard.
Tell me about it. Look, like you said, there's they talked about the wet there, how hard it is to play. But even going back to that Port Adelaide game, they sort of said, that second half they couldn't play in the wet, they struggled. But that first half was quite dewy as well. It wasn't exactly dry weather football, and we kicked 7 goals or 6 goals, 6 in that first half, and really ran amok. So, I mean, they're trying to find a narrative, the media, that they can't do something when, at the moment, we seem to do everything well. We'll talk about the forward setup, Claire. Talia Randall was the only tall, with 4 smalls around. Not much of a too tall setup with Kate Sheilor not there. How did you see that setup?
Yeah, I think they were smart with how they used Emma King. I think they rotated her well. They basically, the stats kind of show that we lost a lot of the hitouts. Kim Rennie would go up, but Alice Edmonds won a fair chunk of the hitouts with 34 herself, Kim Rennie with 18. But Emma King kind of rotated with Randall in that forward line, and she was able to sort of push forward and play that secondary sort of tall role. So that was interesting to watch. It just kind of gives another magic trick up the sleeve, which I quite liked, especially when it was dry. I think that's really great conditions, but then also adapting as well and realising not too many marks are going to be taken in the wet. But it was pleasing to see, even with Neve Martin, that first kind of minute of the game, she goes on a non-preferred and kind of kicks it kind of Gaelic style across the face of goal, which is really interesting. But I think the wonderful thing about North Melbourne, why they're so successful, is they find so many different avenues to goal. Mids like Garner and Riddell chip in. But yes, things like Neve Martin, Kingy getting on the end of two, and obviously Randall herself. We obviously had a lot of behinds as well. Like Vicky Wall probably could have had a couple. Elise O'Loughlin could have had a couple. Bella Eddy, she was running in straight in, and she kind of it faded away to the right. So they've just got a dynamic forward setup in the sense that even if you don't have Sherlock or you're missing someone, there's so many different ways to impact the scoreboard. So pleasing to see. Nice for Kingy. I think it's a bit of a confidence boost for her as well. She sort of plays that half ruck with Rennie and then half tall. And I think getting on the end of two is a really nice way to sort of remind yourself that you can play tall forward, and that's a role that very much suits you. So happy days, right? It's all looking up from here, which is really good because, when Sheila sort of announced on your podcast, she said maybe 1 week max with the elbow injury. I thought, here we go. It's probably going to be 3. I always get nervous. I'm like, is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? But it's probably key for her continuity of football to get back there out there as well. So, but interesting to see what they do with that forward line, because I don't know who you're cooking out, Dean, to get her back in. So it's a good position to be in, but it does raise, I guess, a few question marks of how do we fit them all in,
No, and I'll talk about selection later, because if Kate Shaw does come back in, it's going to raise a few questions, but we'll get to that, Claire. I know you're very good with that. The good thing about the forward line is as soon as that ball hits the ground, that forward half pressure is relentless as well. The minute a defender gets it, there's a player or two around him, and Vicky Wall hits hard. They know, if a player gets a ball, they know they're going to get crunched, and you can sort of see a few fumbles and players looking up and not to see what's coming. So their forward half pressure is just outstanding. Jacinta behind the ball now, and good to see Eliza Shannon back. She's a very good player and tough as nails. I like that she's got their number 11 on her back as well. We didn't seem to miss the run from behind the ball with Carney. How did you see it?
Yeah, I think in the wet, we probably don't miss Carney's run as much. I think because she can't do her 4 bounces along the wing, that would have made it really tough for them to squat down and touch the ball on the ground every 5 meters. But no, I think behind the ball, they were really good. I really think Sarah Wright had her best game for the club. Her ball was perfect. I was talking about before with the men where I didn't trust anyone with the ball, but I really trust Sarah Wright with the ball now. She was fantastic on the weekend. I think Ferguson's the same as Vicky Wall in that when she tackles someone, she crunches them. So that's also good to see. But no, the ball wasn't in there. The first half it got locked in there but they held up really well. And I honestly think they make the best defensive wall in the comp at this point. It's really hard. You can see it's really hard for teams to break through. And I think the way to do it would probably be a run and gun type style. That'd probably be the way to get through the wall. But at the moment, our pressure is just too much for teams and they just can't do it. So as long as we hold on to that structure, I don't see too many teams scoring big against us. I think our defensive 5 or 6 or whatever it is now with our lineup, it's working really well. I probably wouldn't even touch it.
Nah, well, look, they're set up really well, and I think the biggest thing was when I spoke to Sarah Wright, their communication in the back line is outstanding, and they don't they just communicate to each other a lot and make sure that players are held accountable. Even at stoppages, you see Jasmine Ferguson yelling out to Eric O'Shea, "Get behind your player!" They're always switched on. They're very well set up. And, the communication's outstanding, even without Emma Carney there, who's one of the best communicators and one of the best leaders, if not the best leader in the competition. Claire, now, we'll continue with the back line. 22 inside 50s they conceded. I know the ball wasn't in there much in the second half, but it was in the second quarter. They did get it in there. For only 4 scoring shots as well. No goals and no scoring shots in the second half. I mean, they don't like to concede goals, do they? It's very hard that it's... Like, I don't see a team kicking an easy goal against us.
No, it's funny you say that. I was able to catch up with Ash Riddell after the game, and she just quickly turned to me after the game. I was like, good kick after so many things. She's like, did we let them score? And I was like, oh, well, they did kick 4 points. She just she muttered under her breath, and she kind of insinuated. She said, the F word, and she's like, we're trying to keep them scoreless. I'm like, Ash... I literally said, Ash, you're on 311%. She's like, oh, that's not bad, is it? I was like, not bad. Yeah. It's like 2 times the next couple of teams. She's like, oh, that's good. I'm sure the defence will be pretty proud of that. So I think they're the type of defence that take it personally. They're really ruthless. They really enjoy keeping a very strong unit. I think I know Righty had a really great game and got some good, really crunch tackles, but I think Brezhnehan as well played really well down there. She's just quite solid across that half back. And Erica O'Shea, I mean, the Irish just seem to love the wet, don't they? Like Erica O'Shea, Vicky Wall, they just seem to come into their own. So it suits us very well, this kind of wet weather football, when they can run and carry through. But I was talking to Ash a little bit about the torrential rain down in Richmond and then Port. And she's like, I just think I've not played in worse conditions in this set of amount of time. Like, I just don't understand how the rain is just following us everywhere. And I was like, look, maybe it's something working into our favour. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's the magic. Maybe it's just, we're undefeated technically with the rain. Albeit that little bit of a hiccup against Geelong. So, it's fascinating how that defence is able to sort of combine and quell, because I think Jasmine Ferguson, like you said, Jacinta is an absolute gun, and so is Righty. And I think, that defensive unit wins you flags. It's the type of group that is close, that understands, that reads each other, that is accountable. And it's amazing to watch. I spent a fair chunk of Saturday just watching how they set up behind the ball, watching the hand movements, watching sort of the leadership, because I knew with Carney down, I was a little worried, but I tell you what, 5 minutes in, I had nothing to worry about. They're just so professional. They're such a professional outfit about how they go about it. So, yeah, very impressive. Very, very impressive to watch. And like I said, I was talking to Dad as well. I was like, even if a team does score a couple of goals against us, because at the moment, that's all we're going to give away. North have the capacity to kick 10-plus goals every game. So we're going to outscore them anyway. So, yeah, like you just said, the lid's not completely off. I think when we verse Adelaide in a couple of weeks, that'll be another real big hurdle and test. But it's just wonderful to watch, Dean, rolling into Arden Street, knowing that, most likely you're going to come out with a win. I was talking to a bloke next to me. He said the win for North Melbourne was like $0.00001 on Sportsbet. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, it's pretty exciting times, and that defence that should be really proud about how they go about their football for the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jacinta, the only negative I could find out of the game was that we probably missed some easy shots in the first quarter. I think Vicky Wall kicked into the man on the mark from about 15, 20 metres out. I'd say Kim Rennie missed a fairly simple shot. Bella Eddy missed a set shot as well. That's about the only negative I could find out of the game. Was there anything else that I'm missing?
No, that is honestly about it. That's our only negative. We're taking that.
Yeah.
most teams aren't going to beat us if we're kicking 60 points anyway. So, I mean, in terms of week, that's probably right. That probably was the main one. That was quite frustrating, especially because you could see some of those plays that they were then missing shots from. They were beautiful build-ups. I mean, just really wanted them to finish. But there were a couple there where, was it Vicky Wall or someone ball it over to O'Loughlin, or was it right the way it was, but they kind of just fumbled it up right in front of goals, and they were frustrating. Was that who it was? Was it O'Loughlin and someone else?
I think it was. Yeah, it was O'Loughlin. Yeah, but it's one of the very rare moments when at the end of the game.
Yeah, like it's no damage, it's fine, but it's just I mean, we're up by that much, it's okay, but you just hope that all gets cleaned up. And I know it's a slippery ball, and I mean, the Bulldogs did apply a fair bit of pressure as well, so
they tried.
It felt pretty like they were breathing down their necks for large parts of that game. So I can understand why they were a little bit jittery as well. So, but yeah, I think those things, and I bet they're going to be missing those set shots come finals. So they'll be really switched on then, and I think they'll probably a little bit relaxed as well, just thinking, you know what, not that they want to miss, but if they do miss, it's not the end of the world. They'll just lock it in, have another shot anyway.
No, exactly right. It seems to be the way, doesn't it? Now, Claire, I was almost sceptical, and you're probably a little sceptical of the Libby Birch recruitment in the off-season. But we see now it's released Sarah Wright to play more of a floating role. You just talked about that before. She talked about that last week, that she's almost playing a spare out the back and intercepting almost everything. They always seem to have a spare, whether it's Ferguson, Wright, Libby Birch. I mean, Libby Birch is a very good intercept player and good at playing a loose in the back line, isn't she? She reads the game so well.
Yeah, definitely a convert, Dean. Definitely a convert. I'm happy to be called out. I had some asterisks over that one, but AFLW, I think on their Twitter put up, recruit of the year so far, and I thought it was interesting that Libby didn't get a look in there. There was a couple of options. I think the reason being is that the media at the moment sort of want to spend some more time on not focusing on how great North is and trying to build up the middle and lower ends of the teams. That's what I'm reading from the comments and maybe the commentary of the game. A lot of time spent on how good Western Bulldogs are, even though we're up by 5 goals. But anyway, no, back to Libby Birch. Sorry about that. But I definitely think she offers the depth and the versatility. I think she's very switched on. I think, it's a credit to her that when she entered the club, she was tapped on the shoulder to be a part of the leadership group, which makes me think that they rate her very high internally. And, not that we'd wish it upon her, because it's literally my worst nightmare, Carney going down. But it seems that she's stepped up and she's played a real pivotal role in a potentially, I wouldn't go as far as to say tumultuous time at the club, but definitely a period that allows the club to sort of say, we can rest her, we know we can give her all the time to rehab properly, and we don't have to rush her back because we know we've got Birch down back. So great pick-up by the club, great recruiting, which is fantastic to see. And I mean, bigger question, who wouldn't want to play at North at the moment, to be honest, Dean? You got that many people that would be lining up out the door of Arden Street to sort of, just even train with Jasmine Garner and play against Ashradale. So I think we've got that really good balance of youth, like the Taylor Gats, who just seamlessly fit in on the weekend, Tess Craven, Elise O'Loughlin, Bella Eddy. But then you got that middling section with this Libby Birch, Ashradale, Jasmine Garner as well. So when you look at a list and you look at premiership list, you've got to have the excitement of the youth and that sort of creativity, and then you've got to have the old head. So I think the balance is really good at the moment, which is great.
I mean, maybe it could be a recruiting strategy for Dan Houston and Caleb Daniel that sort of tell them that we've got Jasmine Garner, Ashradale, so you can learn off them. So maybe
literally, yes, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. It's great recruiting.
I mean, Jacinta, do we need to say any more about Jasmine Garner or Ashradale this year? I mean, they dominated again on the weekend. A classy finish in the wet by Jasmine Garner at the start of the third. Ashradale caps off her hard work with the goal. Ryan O'Siren at the end. They've been fantastic this year. And when you think they can't grow another level, they seem to do it each week, don't they?
Oh, they are both unbelievable. They are stealing votes off each other left, right, and centre, and not complaining about it because, I mean, you can't tell either one of them to back off for a minute. So,
No.
they're both been insane. I think Liddell hit something crazy like 500 metres gained or something, and that just seems crazy in that weather. Like, that ball was not going very far, but I mean, she had 25, 26 touches and she's gained that much ground. And I was so happy that she kicked that goal at the end. I think she worked so hard all game, and Jazzy got a couple goals, so Liddell should chip in a little bit as well, maybe. But yeah, it looked like Ghana played up forward a fair chunk of that, and I love seeing her up forward. I think she is like the prototype centre half forward. I mean, I know she's also the prototype midfielder, but her up forward, it's so dangerous. She's so good on the ground. She's so good in the air. Yeah, there's not much else you can say about those two, and I think they work really well together as well, which is really important because you don't want, selfish midfielders where they're just trying to take on the game by themselves or they're not giving each other top out. So yeah, they both of them are clicking really well. I just hope that they're no jinx, but neither of them have really been injury prone in their careers. So we just need them to stay in the park and we'll be all right.
No, that's right. They're pretty important going forward. Now, going forward, Claire, we do have a selection headache with Kate Shill back this week, most likely. That seems to be the only issue as to who maybe goes out of the team because I've got no idea at the moment.
Yeah, neither do I, to be honest. Like, do you drop a small? I'm not brave enough to look at the Hobart weather yet, to be honest.
Don't even bother.
I was going to say, dare say rain. Yeah, hard to know because I really want to back in for continuity. I really think she's important to our structure. But who do you take out? Elise O'Loughlin's in red hot form. Neve Martin kicks 2. Vicky Wall had 10 tackles and she was on the ground for 83%, so she's pretty key. Yeah, I just don't know who we would, to be honest, because or do you do you potentially manage at this point? Do you manage a player pending?
Like Wendy Birch or something like that? Yeah, maybe just give her a week off.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it comes down to, and again, no disrespect, last time we played Sydney was in 2022. That was 67 plays, 1 point. So I'm not going to go as far as to say, absolutely, chuck in the win, but in a lot of ways, I'd be pretty shocked if we didn't get over the line against Sydney. But yeah, in terms of player management, it might come down to Sheila out for, how's Emma King travelling? I know she kicked 2 great goals in the weekend, which is fantastic, but how's Kim Rennie doing in the ruck? Like, what sort of role can we do and provide for those players? And that's really the only question mark I have, because I really don't want to get rid of a small. I'm going to check the weather for us now, actually. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Hobart forecast. But I don't want to get rid of any spools because I think they're really good in the wet.
Yeah.
So, are we playing Saturday or Sunday? Hang on.
Sunday.
Oh, no. On Saturday it was 16 and sunny. Sunday it's technically saying overcast and it's not got any rain next to it, so that's optimistic, I guess, for now. Everyone, hold our breath. But yeah, I'd say it's about managing at this point and seeing what we can do because, with no disrespect to Sydney, probably to rest a player and get them a nice break. But yeah, what do you guys think? What should we do?
I'll go to you, Jacinta. I don't want to answer that question, so because it's hard to pick who goes out if everyone is fit.
Yeah, no mission. How do you reckon a little bit? She has a week off. I mean, she's another one where you don't want to tell her, but he could be one that maybe just a like for like, have a rest.
Okay. Kind
of push the problem back another week, and then against Essendon we work out how we put Sheila and Randall back together again in the forward line. But yeah, it's hard because I also think, I know Rennie got beaten in, the actual ruck contest, but I actually think she played really well. Maybe her best game for the year, to be honest with you. And I think maybe Emma King spending a lot more time up forward really helped her out. But yeah, you could give one of them a rest. They've played every game as well. So yeah, no admissions. It would just be all managing if anyone gets left out this week. If anyone gets sick of playing in the rain, maybe they'll put their hand and say, yeah, I'm not coming out.
Yeah, they probably have about 5 or 6 that are probably sick of the rain at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. Claire, going towards this week against the Swans, whoever plays, it doesn't really matter. This could be, our biggest win of the year, or biggest win in our club history potentially, because the Swans aren't much chopped. They've obviously got a few injuries, Chloe Malloy being the biggest one. Before that, I think they were, around the mark to be around 8th to 10th this year, or maybe a bit higher. But just with a few injuries, they look a shell of themselves, and I expect a fairly convincing win. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Unfortunately, they've just not come on. They've got some really interesting talent down there. Paris McCarthy, an Irish. It's always the Irish. She kicked 3 against Geelong, which was exciting to watch. And they had a real stage in the last quarter when I was watching it. They really rolled the dice and were prepared to just sort of kick with the wind, I guess. So whilst I do respect, Laura Gardner and Sophia Hurley and what they can do, I do, tend to think that it'll be pretty brutal in how we tear them up in the middle. I think it'll be a case of, potentially a 8 to 10 goal win, pending on weather. Because they just don't have the personnel. I think they're a bit young, they're a bit injured. They're going to be a bit cold. I think it was 29 when they played on Geelong, so it's quite hot. So they're going to go quite hot to quite cold in Hobart within the space of a week. And they're not yet there yet in terms of their professional standards and what they sort of set as a club. They're definitely in a growth stage, and I think whilst we're at our peak, they're probably towards the lower end of the table. So going with a 8 to 10 goal win pretty comfortably, and fingers crossed no injuries down in North Hobart, and sort of just stringing together the season, another win on the board, and remaining undefeated, I guess, is the main goal of the assignment on the weekends.
No, it definitely is. We've got to go undefeated next couple of weeks when we get to Adelaide, that's for sure, because that's going to be a big game coming up. Not that we want to look too far ahead. But Jacinta, are we underestimating the Sydney Swans at the moment? Or do you see something else that maybe they'll be a bit more competitive than maybe what me and Claire are leading on to?
I don't think it's going to be the same level of pummeling that we gave them a couple of years ago. I think probably 7 to 8 goals, but I think, even I was really shattered when Chloe Malloy went down, because she's a beautiful footballer to watch as well. I think her skills, her skill class is above a lot of the players in the league. So that was a bit of a heartbreaker. But Sophia Hurley, she's obviously got some chops. Even Kennedy, she goes all right as well. But I don't feel that threatened, and maybe Riddell's wish to you, Claire, will come true, and maybe they will stay 0-0.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, they've got some interesting people that they can chuck in the forward line, but Privatelli and the Irish down there. But I can't see the ball getting down there that often. So, I think it'll be a bit of pain for the Sydney Swans, but let's just add it on to us poaching Luke Parker.
Yeah, that's it. He's making the right choice based on the women's game that's going to happen 100%. This week. So, that should be our whole recruiting strategy. Just sort of say, just watch the women, how good we are there. That's going to happen to the men eventually, because they'll listen to the women. So, yeah, like my wife always says, you should start listening to me every now and then. But I've got selective hearing. Unless I hear North Melbourne descendants, I've got very selective hearing. So, yeah, it is what it is. Claire, anything else before I let you go tonight? Did you want to add anything else to all to all your loyal listeners, I should say?
Just, it was really special in Arden Street. I know it was weird and torrential rain. It was pretty odd, but it felt like a really amazing place. I think the crowd numbers, I don't know whether it was taken after halftime, but I think there was about 2,500 of us that got down to the game on the weekends, and you could see around all the oval, like it was just packed out with fans, and just a really nice place to be, Arden Street, when we're up and about, and there's smiles and there's young kids running around and food vans, and I don't know, I just think that the AFLW offers something really special and unique to the experience of being at Arden Street, being at a suburban grounds, and I don't know, I always like how the girls spend so much time after the game going over to the fans, taking photos, signing things, and talking to people. I just think that if you can get down, depending on where you are, what you're doing, then yeah, it just offers a different opportunity to not only watch some amazing, talented athletes, but also enjoy, I guess, the nostalgia of football being at Arden Street. So I know we don't really have many games left there. So if you do have the opportunity, I'm just looking to the future actually now. I think, do we play the Dons at Windy Hill?
Yeah, we do. No, Windy Hill.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're fast running out of opportunities to get down there. So I think maybe in round 10 we'll have the Suns, which will be a really nice opportunity, and hopefully we get everyone down and we can kind of get around. There's nothing better, Dean, than watching the blue and white sort of pack around the Arden Street Oval and cheer and sometimes boo. Some interesting calls. So, yeah, it's always a pleasure, and thanks for having me on tonight. Really appreciate it.
No, that's no problems at all. Yeah, it's always good to see Kane. He's always floating around as well, Kane Garner. So you always see him at the ground. And like you said, the girls will make an effort with you. If you stay after the game, they will walk around the ground and you can take a photo with them and whatever. So there's real unity there, and they're very humble, no egos. They're very happy to stay and chat after a game. So, yeah, definitely get down round 10. But even Windy Hill's only in Essendon. It's not far from Arden Street, so you can get down for that. And if you do have a membership, you get it every game for free. So, yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't cost you anything except for the membership, which is only $75 anyway. So it's no.
It's a steal, absolute steal to be undefeated and win a flag with that sort of premiership prices, isn't it, Dean?
Well, you get priority to grand final tickets, prelim final tickets, so you can't complain. You can't cry if the grand final sold out and you don't get a ticket because you don't have a membership. So don't complain. Don't complain to me anyway. You can complain to Clare or Jacinta, but that's
no. Nah, you can't complain to us either.
Well, fair enough. Jacinta, did you want to add anything else before I let you go as well?
No, I just wanted to know if you guys feel the same now at this point in the season. When you see, like, Jazz Garner fall over or somebody tackle her or something, have, like, heart in your mouth kind of stuff. Like,
yes.
I saw her go down on the wing at one point and I thought, oh, my God, no. And then she just gets up and it's fine. But it's like every time I see one of them on the ground, I just feel so sick. Like, anyway, I don't know if that's just a me issue or if that's a general vibe at the moment where we're just praying that everyone gets back up.
Well, it's probably the only thing that can stop us really now. I don't think there's a team out there. I watched Adelaide on a weekend. They weren't overly impressive against St Kilda. I've seen them a couple of times this year. They've been good, but they're probably our only threat at the moment to take top spot. But we'll worry about them in a couple of weeks when we have them. So
yeah. I've still got my eyes to answer your question. Yes, I constantly think that about any player, but I also know that every time Vicky Wall crunches into someone, I shriek for the other girl as well. Like I'm clapping Vicky Wall, but I'm also like, what is she broken?
Yeah.
I'm glad Vicky Wall plays for us. You know, I would not want her tackling Jazz Garner, that's for sure. But no, I'm a little worried about Brisbane. I think they've found another level to get to, and we'll see how the whole season plays out. But look, I think skill-wise, game plan, the fact that we've had the same group with the same clan with the same coach, and we've only gotten better, I think, and only improved and added quality players, means we're in the box seat. But yeah, I always closely watch Brisbane every round, and I don't know, they seem to have found a gear to go to, which is a little frustrating. But yeah, we'll deal with that, I guess, come finals time.
No, that's right. Well, we beat them in round one when there's the grand final redemption, I should say, and it was it was very hot conditions up their way as well. So yeah, it's good to get that monkey off the back, I guess, because we hadn't beaten them before. But we'll worry about them if we get the opportunity to play them again in the finals, which you'd probably have to think we would. Anyways, that's all I have, Claire. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, Dean. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I will. Jacinta, always an absolute pleasure to have you on. You take care. We'll chat possibly next week.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Hopefully a week in Windy Hill.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you to all you lovely listeners as well. Don't forget to check out the show on YouTube, like and subscribe, leave comments, push that notification bell as well. I'll be back probably later this week. Not too sure what I'm going to talk about, but look out for that. Until then, bye for now and go